Also developing this morning, police in Philadelphia are investigating what caused a very large crowd of looters to hit stores across the city's downtown last night. Police say the group of juveniles, about 100 of them, moved through the city. They targeted these high-end retail stores for clothing and sneakers, wine and liquor, even pharmacies. A news helicopter captured police chasing suspects in the street. We're told they made somewhere between 15 to 20 arrests last night.
Not nearly enough, though. We're going to need more prisons because there are a lot of dangerous, deadly, criminal, thieving, looting, burning Democrats on the loose. And it's having all kinds of ripple effects across our culture, making our cities unsafe. Front page of the Washington Post lead story today. Killings are worst in D.C. since crack era. Toll tops 200 already this year, a pace not seen since 1997. 26 years ago, more than a quarter of a century ago. Tragic burden borne by black residents, children. Because Democrats, that's the one-word answer to all of that. And so welcome back, and, happy Wednesday anyway, because we're engaged. We're engaged in trying to save the United States of America, the greatest experiment in the history of the world. The left is here, however, and just as they enslaved hundreds of millions in the 20th century in the name of bringing about utopia, and they murdered 100 million people in the 20th century, the left is still alive, and they're coming for the United States of America. And they've seized control of the Democrat Party. The party kind of willingly went along. And the left is here. They're in the United States, and they're coming for capitalism. They're coming for freedom. They're coming for liberty. They're coming for your rights. In fact, at the Chris Plant store, we have all kinds of great stuff, including our Donald Trump mugshot coffee mug with "The left is coming for your rights" on one side, and the Chris Plant Show logo on the other side, naturally. T-shirts with "The left is coming for your rights." The left is coming for your rights. They're also coming for your stuff, especially if you own a business. And last night in Philadelphia, the Democrats were on the loose, looting all over the place. And I'm going to share with you the audio and the news from Philadelphia last night. But first, I just want to hit refresh on this because Target, the big box store, closing nine stores in New York, Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco. The left is just a work-free crime place where pimps and thieves run free and good men die like dogs. It's almost as bad as television. Target closes 9 stores citing theft that threatens workers, shoppers. That's ABC fake news. CVS apologizes amid claims of unsafe workplaces. Pharmacists plan a second walkout today. CVS is permanently closing 900 stores because of theft and crime and the lack of safety for their employees and for shoppers. And the Daily Dot with the fact that spam costs $6 to begin with. Well, that's Joe Biden's economy, quoting somebody there. CVS customer finds spam locked in box on shelf. That's because the Democrats have made looting normal because their children are all criminals. And H&M, the store, the CEO says they're hiring more security as shoplifting rises in the United States, citing the danger to their employees. And H&M, I said, was a London-based store. I was corrected by a couple of our listeners in Sweden, Anne and George in Sweden, who listen to the show pretty much every day, thanks to Al Gore and his amazing internet, said, "Hey, Chris, H&M is based in Sweden, not in England, stupid." So H&M based in Sweden, and the CEO there citing the danger to their employees at U.S. stores, hiring more security. But the Democrats will lynch the security people if they do anything, because the Democrat Party is the party of lynching people. The National Retail Association, is that what it is? The National Retail Federation, I'm sorry, announcing the new dollar figures are in 2022. The Democrats stole $112 billion across various industries in retail theft. Retail theft. That's up from $94 billion that the Democrats stole in 2021. They're doing it in the name of social justice, of course, because, please, sir, may I have more? I need some porridge. So $112 billion stolen, honestly, greater than the gross domestic product of a whole lot of countries. And it's all Democrats. And they call it reparations. Remember, the Black Lives Matter people called looting reparations. You may or may not recall this, but I recall it. And the Wall Street Journal writing Target to close stores in San Francisco, other cities, citing theft. That's what's going on. And yesterday, the Democrats terrorized Philadelphia, the birthplace of our democracy. But Black Lives Matter organizer who called looting reparations dismisses peaceful protests. See? And the Chicago Black Lives Matter organizer who justified looting as reparations has doubled down, insisting this week that even calling someone a criminal is based on racism. This is an old story from 2020 when the Democrats were burning the country from coast to coast in the name of racial justice, and then they, maintained the 40% abortion rate for black pregnancies. Ariel Atkins told WBEZ that her group is 100% in support of violent looters who trashed chunks of the Windy City, Chicago. Again, repeating her claim that it's reparations. The whole idea of criminality is based on racism anyway, she said, and then she committed a bunch of crimes. Because criminality is punishing people for things they need, that they have needed to do to survive, or just the way that society has affected them with white supremacist BS. That's what she said. She's a racist, too. At least 13 cops were injured and 100 people arrested. Violent clashes led mostly in the black community in the troubled South Side to kick out a Black Lives Matter march. Now, let me go to, because that's the Democrat Party. And there were members of Congress who were supporting the looting and AOC. We got all kinds of, they're completely crazy. Now, with that as prologue, the NBC Philadelphia story, large crowds of juveniles loot multiple stores in the city center, NBC 10 in Philadelphia. And let's go to some of the looting from Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia last night. Now, they were looting, and just some of the headlines here. Philadelphia looting, large crowds break into Foot Locker. Is there food in there? Apple. Maybe they thought there was fruit, fresh fruit in there instead of phones. Lululemon. Is there food in there? Lululemon stores in city center Roosevelt Mall also hit. And ABC 6 reports out of Philadelphia. Philadelphia swarmed by alleged juvenile looters targeting Apple Store, Lululemon, Foot Locker, and others, the Fox News channel. And Eddie Irizarry, this is a guy who was shot and killed by the police in Philadelphia. Protesters rally in Philadelphia after judge dismisses charges against officer in fatal shooting. And LA Times, charges dismissed against Philadelphia officer. See, if it's a police shooting, then it's big news. But the front page of the Washington Post today, 200 people killed in Washington, D.C. so far this year. It's the first time it's been the lead story in the Washington Post all year long. And Eddie Irizarry, judge dismisses all charges against Philadelphia police officer who fatally shot 27-year-old. And even the police chief there is saying, oh, no, these are unrelated. The charges being dismissed and the riot and the lootings and the police, the media don't even call it looting. It's pretty amazing stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. I also have a story for you today on a CEO, a young woman that was murdered in Baltimore, Maryland by a psychopathic sexual predator who was let out of jail real early by the George Soros prosecutor there. And then he nabbed this woman in her 20s, 26-year-old tech CEO, and apparently sexually assaulted her and then murdered her. And now the police are looking for him because, the Democrats let him loose on the streets to murder again. Also in Oakland, California, businesses have gone on strike to protest rampant violent crime plaguing the city. Oakland business owners go on strike amid crime spike, calling for meeting with Governor Newsom, who's too busy smiling for the cameras in Washington, D.C., and he's going to the Republican debate tonight in Simi Valley, California, instead. Now let's get to Philadelphia. All right, let's go to, you have the news media, the local station, Channel 6, which is, one of your network news affiliates there. The Channel 6 is the ABC affiliate. And they're reporting on the rioting, the looting, the mayhem, because a police officer wasn't lynched after a fatal shooting that was unfortunate.
A night of looting in the city of Philadelphia continued into the early morning hours.
Police were busy responding to retail theft and break-ins from West Philadelphia to Northeast Philadelphia.
The chaos started in Center City last night when a large group of juveniles began looting store after store. Then a caravan of people started riding around the city, targeting more spots.
A caravan. They're having a caravan. That's it's Mad Max beyond Thunderdome. Did they have any little children lashed to the grills of the vehicles on the caravan? It's just insane. The local ABC News Philadelphia station, Channel 6.
At this point, we don't know how many businesses in all were hit, but there was a heavy police presence in Center City overnight. We're over by the Apple Store, which was one of the locations that looters targeted. Numerous devices were taken. Witnesses found themselves in the middle of it.
We just saw a bunch of people, just go into the Lululemon, clothes everywhere.
Clothes everywhere, looting. The people smashed out the storefronts, coming out with arms full of stuff. But of course, you go to the looters and they're out on the street, and here's a woman who goes by Meatball, and she's screaming and yelling. She doesn't look like she's lacked any sustenance, like she's skipped a meal. But here's Meatball. Her nickname is Meatball, her street name, and she's screaming, "Everyone must eat," and that's why they're looting Lululemon and the Foot Locker and the Apple Store.
Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Yes. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat.
Everybody must eat. She thought the Apple Store was a fruit stand.
Well, Eddie. Press well, Eddie.
See, it's in the name of Eddie.
Uh-oh, look, here come more people. Let's go.
Uh-oh, here come more Democrats are coming.
Let's go.
A violent Democrat Party mob. Imagine if all of this were Republicans. Now, this was January 6th. This was an insurrection. This was an assault by yet another insurrection by the Democrats, which, if the news media knew the meanings of words, they would identify this properly and correctly as an insurrection. An uprising against established authority, because she's yelling Eddie's name, the guy that was shot and killed by the police. And the judge dismissed the charges against a Philadelphia police officer who shot and killed a 27-year-old. But since that happened, 3,000 African Americans have been killed in the United States of America. And then, of course, you may remember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, during the George Floyd riots, when they were looting and burning and sacking and plundering from coast to coast, the Democrats were. And AOC acted like, this was some sort of a classic opera.
People are at a level of economic desperation that we have not seen since the Great Recession.
That's
and
a lie.
They go out
recession.
And they need to feed their child, and
right.
They don't have money. So they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
That's right. You either shoplift some bread at the Apple Store and the Lululemon and the Foot Locker, or you go hungry that night. And Meatball is yelling, "Everyone must eat. Everyone must eat." And it is echoing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her fake claims.
Please, sir, I want some more.
He's hungry. He's very, very hungry. The poor little boy, he hasn't eaten. He wants some more porridge. So he's looting the Lululemon. Hey, President Joe Biden's sinister plan to inflict the digital dollar on all of us is already underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences here because notwithstanding what they're telling us, which, was stuff that isn't true, this is not in your best interest or mine, and time is of the essence. So getting smart on this subject now is a really good idea to protect your savings and your retirement. You can help protect your savings from the risks of Joe Biden's digital dollar scheme by diversifying with IRAs in gold and silver. You get started by calling the experts at American Alternative Assets today. You can call them at 888-4GOLD20, 888-4GOLD20. That's 888-446-5320. They'll give you all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD20. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, so the Democrats are rioting again because, some Black Lives matter a lot more than others. A lot more. 200 in Washington, D.C., murdered so far this year, overwhelmingly African American, according to the Washington Post today. No riots here, no looting, but, it's early yet. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. CNN has an expert on that they use a former law enforcement person who is now an insane leftist, who described what was happening in Philadelphia last night as shopping without money. Wait till you hear this. It's shopping without money. We should all go shopping without money. We shouldn't really all go shopping without money because that's illegal. Let's go to the way the Democrats do it, but it's okay when it's on CNN. Let's go to Rick calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Rick, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, how can you say that the left is not progressing? All the looting is leading to stores, grocery stores, and other stores closing, and so Chicago's leading the way towards progress by proposing government grocery stores.
That's true. They're talking about a city run because they've run all of the grocery stores out of the city. So now they're talking about the city opening a grocery store that would be run by the city, which, Rick, sounds to me like the Soviet Union, right?
Well, everything they do is about power, and they're going about it just the way Moscow taught them shortly after World War II.
Pretty much true. And wait till you hear this guy on CNN this morning explaining that it's not looting, it's shopping without money. And so violence, mayhem, anarchy, looting, and corrupt Democrats in the street saying people have to eat while they're robbing and looting and mob actions. The Apple store, no edible products in there. The Lululemon, and of course, the Foot Locker, because when you're hungry, where else would you go? Speaking of the Lululemon, and they love looting Lululemon. If I were a franchise owner of a Lululemon, I think I might sell it because the Democrats are violently targeting Lululemon all over the place. And looting is now a normal Democrat Party activity from coast to coast. Mob violence against the police, against private businesses, against civil society, against civilization, against capitalism. It's the left. They're not liberals. They're the left. Here's a woman. The police start showing up at the Lululemon to arrest people. They apparently only arrested about 20 people last night, but Police are doing what they can, and then the radical leftists will put the criminals back on the street to do it all over again.
Damn! That's, oh my God. Free Philly! Free Philly!
Look, it's Mad Max.
Okay, don't touch him! Oh my God, record this!
Record this. It's honestly, you need to bring in the fire trucks from the airports with the water cannons on them and blast them off their feet and wash them into the gutter where they belong, and then cuff them and wrap their legs and then maybe throw them off of bridges or something, or maybe make them part of the new social justice stained glass window at the National Cathedral. Pretty amazing stuff. Then, okay, because that was the Loot Lemon, and the police came and they just want to videotape because they want to sue the police because they know the Democrats will hang the police and give the looters citizenship awards. Here's the looting of the Apple Store now. Phones for everyone.
Got one! Free iPhones! Look, security running.
And it must be noted, because we have eyes, everybody is black. Everybody is black. There are no white people. Now, I mean, that has not always been the case. During the, George Floyd, half the looters were white, and, well, maybe not half, but lots and lots, and, burning police cars, white liberal radicals who should do 100 years in prison for their stuff. Now, let's go to CNN, because CNN is my alma mater, and they're an embarrassment to Western civilization. They have this guy, John Miller. John Miller has been going around from ABC to CNN and back to CBS and then to ABC and then to CNN again. And he's a former NYPD guy. He was actually deputy commissioner of the NYPD at one point. And he goes on CNN, and they watch some of the video, very little of it, just the mellowest, most encouraging video of the looting in Philadelphia. And John Miller, who is also an embarrassment to Western civilization, calls himself a police official even to this day. And on CNN this morning, he's talking about, listen carefully to the manipulation of language. He doesn't want to call it looting, even though we're watching what is obviously looting, violent mobs of criminal Democrats smashing out storefronts. Everybody runs inside. They fill their arms with everything from every shelf. Then they go running down the street after having stolen everything in the store, strip the place bare. Now, if that's not looting, then the word looting no longer exists. But he quickly corrects himself, probably because CNN management is saying, let's not call it looting. Let's call it something more gentle. And here is a terrible charlatan. And he wasn't always a terrible charlatan, but he sold out to the pimps and the hoes. And here's John Miller on CNN this morning.
You're seeing this kind of, looting happening. Shoplifting.
Organized
retail theft happen in places like New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. If you look at where Target closed 9 stores yesterday, 4 stores in San Francisco, stores in Seattle, stores in Portland, stores in New York. These are places where bail reform laws, criminal justice reforms have taken the inside of a jail cell out of the equation.
Bail reform laws. That is Democrats putting criminals on the street. That's the role of Democrats, one of their roles, bankrupting us, more murder, more abortion, more looting, more crime, more carjacking. Honestly, vote Democrat for more murder. Vote Democrat for more shoplifting. Vote Democrat for more looting, for more businesses going under. Vote Democrat for crime. A vote for a Democrat is a vote for crime. And he stopped himself. And the way he did it, he called it looting because he knows what it is when he looks at it. And then he said, and he stopped himself. Oh, no shoplifting.
You're seeing this kind of looting happening. Shoplifting.
Shoplifting. You hear that his tone goes up. It's like, oh, that sounds to me like he's following a corporate directive. Don't say looting, say shoplifting. It's looting, fraud boy. Try to have a little integrity. Organized retail theft, because this is another euphemism. We should call it ORT or ORT, shouldn't we? Because we got to turn everything into an abbreviation or an acronym, and maybe ORT, call it ORT, organized retail theft, and Target closing 9 stores, and bail reform. These are all places where Democrats have inflicted bail reform laws, meaning they're putting criminals back on the street as quickly as possible. And now, listen to this. He's already agreed he's not going to call it looting. He's going to call it shoplifting. And then he explains, well, in New York City, we've got a little bit of experience with this. He seems to be aware of something.
Shoplifting is a crime where a judge can't set bail. Think about this.
Can't set bail.
In New York City, there are just over 300 people who have between them 4,000 arrests. 70% of them are not in jail, and they account for 30% of all shoplifting in New York. This is actually their job. They go out to steal every day, and that has gone up significantly because they know getting put in jail is not in the equation any longer because of the laws that say it's a no bail offense, and DA's policies are they don't want people in custody for what they call nonviolent crimes.
Your Democrat Party. George Soros, prosecutors. George Soros is one of the most destructive forces in the history of the United States of America. A billionaire whose ill-gotten gains have been used to undermine civil society from coast to coast in the United States of America, getting people murdered. Honestly, the Soros prosecutor in Baltimore let this serial sex offender loose, and he just murdered a 26-year-old woman, 27-year-old woman, a CEO, she was 26-year-old CEO. And these people, 26-year-old tech CEO Pava Lapierre, found dead at Baltimore apartment building, homicide investigation underway. And it turns out that there's only one suspect, and it's this career criminal who is, what is he? He's like a giant. And he goes around and rapes women, and now goes around, rapes women and murders people. But they threw him in jail for a terrible sex crime several years ago, and then he was let out very, very early. They didn't give him an especially long sentence. And then he was released early because of the George Soros prosecutor, the repeat offender who was put back on the street, never should have been on the street in the first place. Pava Lapierre, 26-year-old tech CEO, apparently sexually assaulted and then murdered by a criminal who should never have been on the street. But pay no attention to that because, she was on the Forbes magazine 30 under 30, the, brilliant future ahead of her. And boy, I'm telling you, and the murderer is still on the loose, by the way, because the Democrats put him on the street when he should have been in prison. But pay no attention to that. Just amazing stuff. They issued a warrant for Jason Billingsley for first-degree murder, in addition to many other charges. Billingsley, 32 years old of Baltimore, should be considered armed and dangerous. He's on the loose. Remember that we had that murderer escape from George Washington University Hospital a couple of weeks ago in D.C. He's still on the loose. Pay no attention to that. So Billingsley, who in 2015 was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Now, that's 8 years ago. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. And he pleaded guilty to first-degree sex offense. Court records show, and the Maryland Sex Offender Registry. But he was released from prison in October. And guess what he did? He went out, and by the Soros prosecutor in Baltimore, let's let him go. Let's put him back on the street. And now this 26-year-old young woman, CEO, 30 under 30, Forbes magazine, apparently sexually assaulted and then murdered by this creep who shouldn't have been on the street in the first place, were it not for Democrat Party policies. Now this guy, where's this guy? He's like 6'6" and 300 pounds, the murderer, and he's on the loose. And just extraordinary stuff. A terrible, terrible development. Now,
we implore residents to be aware of your surroundings at all times. This individual will kill and he will rape. He will do anything he can to cause harm.
Cause harms, multiple harms, not just one harm. Jason Billingsley, suspected of killing Forbes 30 Under 30 tech CEO Pavel Lepere, 26 years old, linked to knife point sex attack a week earlier. The 6'4", 305-pound ex-convict was let out by Soros-backed DA early, despite a long history of sex offenses and violent crimes. This is George Soros murdered this woman. He got her murdered. He, of course, didn't murder himself. He's 90 years old, so he gets other people to do the murdering by putting violent criminals on the street. And that's what the Democrats do. And that's what this clown. Now let's get back to this clown, John Miller, on CNN, because here comes the prize winner. We might have to make T-shirts up of this one. John Miller on CNN this morning explaining what was going on in the mass looting in Philadelphia last night.
But if you look at where it's going up significantly, it's going up in cities where you have these policies and people who realize this is just like shopping without money.
This is just like shopping without money, because Democrats say, well, we're not going to put you in jail for shoplifting. We're not going to even charge you if it's under $900 or $950. So steal, steal, steal. And what about the business owners? Well, you remember, who was it? Baltimore city official, I think, said, well, they have insurance. The business owners. This is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is a violent crime organization. We should sick Rudy Giuliani on him like he undid the mafia. Now, I'm sorry, it's like shopping without money. This is what you get from CNN.
This is just like shopping without money.
This is just like shopping without money. That is literally what you're getting on CNN. That is truly extraordinary. That might be the soundbite of the year.
Put that on the stained glass window.
They should put that on the stained glass window at
This is just like shopping without money.
The National Cathedral. Isn't that extraordinary? Man, oh man. I am telling you. Today is also mailbag day. I'm going to get to my mailbags too. So free phones and Lululemon, and we got to eat by robbing the Apple Store because Democrats. All right, we've got more on the border today and Joe Biden and lots of other stuff too. But right now, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Jeffrey calling from Herndon, Virginia. Jeffrey, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good morning to you, Chris.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Awesome show once again.
Thank you.
Hey, so I'm just really, in my time as serving the government in various different capacities over the last 38 years, I'm just really amazed every time I came back to D.C. and certainly over the last 5 to 10 years, the numerous, the multiplication of TVs on walls and by elevators and in lobbies and in break rooms. And, just in the last, since Obama, they all seem to have CNN or MSNBC. And when COVID happened, every TV near every elevator had COVID, the legendary CNN COVID, desktop. What do they call that?
The ticker, the death count. Yeah, they had the death count. They should have it for murder now.
They really should. What's so amazing to me is, so I always very, very nicely and always in the mind of First Amendment, but also with just the idea of maybe we should have some other channels. Would suggest maybe we should do that. In some places I went, I actually had a pretty decent amount of success. One place I was amazed. I walked in the lobby and they had just installed these huge TVs, each one of them, but they put them into this, 4-quadrant collection on the wall in a lobby where you can't help but see it when you walk into this place. And I was watching them put it together, and I was watching TV station, MSN and CNN. When the second day they had this thing running, it was one big, huge CNN I mean, you right out of Big Brother. I was amazed.
Right out of Big Brother is exactly right. Information dominance is what I call it, Jeffrey. And the left has secured information dominance. They're brainwashing the American people. You're absolutely right. It is George Orwell's 1984 and Big Brother. And if you're watching CNN, you hear that the looting in Philadelphia last night was just like shopping without money.
This is just like shopping without money.
Just like shopping without money. And, well, I wonder what he'd call murder now, because we've got to come up with a euphemism for murder. They're culling the herd to save the planet from our dreadful CO2 footprint. Extraordinary. Jeffrey, thank you. You know, fall is in the air, and that means we're looking forward very soon to crisp mornings, falling leaves, and sweater weather. More importantly, it's the perfect time for fall grilling, barbecuing, tailgating. Cozy, delicious, comfort food. You know this stuff. Growing up in Chicago, I always loved it when my neighbors got Omaha steaks delivered to their place. We never got them delivered, but my neighbors did, and I craved them. Now I get them delivered to my house. Omaha Steaks has all your fall cravings covered with 50% off site-wide Omaha Steaks during their semi-annual sale. That's 50% off all your favorite tender, juicy, delicious, extra-aged steaks like their butcher's cut filet mignons. So go to omahasteaks.com today and use the promo code PLANT. That's my last name, Plante. I don't know why I have an extra E on the end. At checkout, and you're going to get an additional $30 off. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Omaha Steaks, endless flavors, endless value, incredible entrees, great sides, delicious desserts, and a whole lot more. All of them 50% off right now during their semi-annual sale. Everybody's backed by their 100% unconditional guarantee. Just go to omahasteaks.com and shop for your delicious favorites at half the price. Don't forget to use the promo code PLANT at checkout to save another $30 American dollars. Hurry up, though. This sale is only for a limited time. Minimum purchase may apply. Visit omahasteaks.com for details. Yeah, the left and information dominance on campus, in the media. They lie to us. We know they're lying to us. We know they know they're lying to us, but they keep lying to us.
This is just like shopping without money.
Well, I have the mailbag coming up. It's Wednesday. It's hump day in the Clinton household, and it's mailbag day here on the Chris Plant Show. Got a little bit of Joe Biden, but he's so useless. They're just trying to keep him from falling down flights of stairs, and he almost fell down the stairs. Getting off of Air Force One yesterday, he slipped a bit. The Democrat Party is a national crime wave. The manifestations of the Democrat crime wave are everywhere, from Seattle to Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. And mailbag coming up.